or even siblings. So you're constantly running after a person. They keep running away from you. And it creates a lot of anxiety and a lot of just like you feel unsettled, like you're constantly running towards somebody and they're constantly running away from you. And then if it's prone to lots of conflict, fights, confrontation, they feel abandoned. They feel like, oh, if I don't run after this person, they're going to forget about me. The avoidant attachment is usually the opposite. It's the person who's withdrawing. They're running away from the person and they're prone to avoiding their problems. Any problem they have, throw it under the rug. Let's not think about it. Let's not talk about it. You know, I just feel uncomfortable discussing problems. I don't want to discuss problems at all. And they actually fear rejection. So they're thinking, if I get close to this person, I can possibly get rejected by them. Generally, but not always, the anxious attached person is a woman, and the avoidant attachment person is the man. Not always, but generally. But what it's supposed to be like is this, with secure attachment. So there should be like a healthy togetherness, and there should also be an easy way to have your own space. Like they shouldn't feel like, oh, I have to chase after this person or I have to run away from this person. It should be natural. Like, okay, you're allowed to spend time on your own, with your own friends, with your own family, and I'm going to do my own thing, and then we come back together and we have our time. And there's healthy communication and conflict. There's no such thing as a relationship without having a fight ever, without having conflict ever. That means that you have a very surface level relationship, because it means you never talk about your values. It means you never talk about the things that matter to you. It means that if you're upset, you're not saying it, right? A lot of people do that. But in a secure attachment, like, you're afraid that if I express my true feelings, this person's gonna run away. You feel secure that they're gonna feel safe, that they're gonna listen to you and they're gonna work with you. And you know that the relationship is solid. That's basically what it means. So now if we apply this to Allah, right, it gets really interesting. There are some people who are running towards the religion, like in a way they're pursuing Allah, they feel, but they're guilty all the time. They feel guilty, they feel forgotten. They ask questions like, has Allah forgotten about me? Has Allah abandoned me, right? I'm going through so many problems, does Allah not care about me anymore? It's possibly coming from their relationship with their parent. And they don't even realize it, because if they don't know about attachment, for example, or if they've never studied it, or if they've never talked to a therapist before, they don't know why they're feeling these feelings towards Allah. But it's likely coming from their parent. Their brain has recognized that their caretaker is going to behave in this way. So whatever idea they have of their parent, they will now project it onto Allah. So they're constantly like, well, I'm doing this, I'm practicing, I make dua, I make afkar. Why is Allah not listening to me? They don't understand that Allah's not running away anywhere. Allah has always been there, and He hasn't forgotten, right? And Surah Duha would be a great surah for them to reflect upon, because Allah literally says to the Prophet ﷺ, I have not abandoned you, I have not forgotten you, right? And then the avoidant attachment people, there are people who are running away from Allah, right? They have faced too much pain, right? Muslim people have hurt them too much, the masjid has hurt them too much, or they had religious trauma, spiritual trauma. Now they're running away from Allah because they think Islam is the cause of my problems. God is the cause of my problems. So they're running away. But then our goal is like, okay, how do we heal from that? If we recognize it in ourselves, how do we heal and become secure, right? How do we feel that that Allah is here with me and I'm with Allah and I have that closeness to Him, right? We should and my relationship is solid with Allah. So some things, attachment to mother and father, again, these can overlap. They're not written in, they're not set in stone, huh? Yeah, they're not set in stone. Yeah, exactly. But it's generally, this is how it goes, right? Like the father and the mother, they provide different needs for a child. So love is both, right? Mother and father both provide love. The mother provides nurturing and that softness. The father provides safety. Mother is cherishing. The father provides security. The mother, she's cooking and feeding them, and he's providing the money for the house and the clothes and blah, blah. Whenever you need something, go to your dad, right? The mother is soft, and the father is firm, right? He's providing those boundaries, like, okay, in order to protect you, I have to set these boundaries for you. The mother is the one who kind of, she embodies that homely feeling, like you want to go back home. When you think of home, you think of your mother, right? But when you think about the safety of going out, you think about your father, because he he set those boundaries in the first place that allow you to feel safe going out, right? Not abandoned. You're like, okay, I can go out safely because I know my father has my back, right? I know my father has taught me these things. Self-worth and confidence, they should come from both. Ideally, I guess for some people, the mother provides more of that, the father provides more, but it should come from both. Like when a child observes the mother, when a child observes the father, they should see somebody who is comfortable in who they are, right? Because if somebody does not have that quality, they actually cannot pass it on to their child, right? As much as somebody learns about something, until they embody it within themselves, they can't actually give it to somebody else, right? The scholars often say that about peace, right? The one who's not at peace, the one who doesn't have peace on the inside, they can't actually bring anybody else peace. The only thing they're going to do is they're going to take away other people's peace by causing problems all the time, right? So the way the mother and the father give self-worth and give self-confidence is, even though it exists within yourself, they can offer you the support. They can offer you the avenues to be able to build that, right? By not overly questioning you all the time on all your choices, right? Especially growing up, it's important to give the child choices on little things like 2 healthy meals, for example, let them pick, right? Or like 2 outfits, for example, let them pick. The parenting experts, they'll tell you the more choices you give them, like that growing up age appropriately, they'll actually build their self-confidence, right? And the parents, they also sometimes take that away by being helicopter parents and things like that. So again, mother and father there should be that balance in what they're providing for the child. So the reason I use the rope metaphor, because in 3 places in the Quran, there might be more, but these are the 3 I found, Allah uses this metaphor about the rope, right? Allah tells us, one, He says, hold firmly to the rope of Allah, right? And the rope actually signifies the deen, right? The religion itself. Hold on to the deen of Allah. Hold on to the way of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then He says in Surah Luqman, whoever submits his face to Allah, i.e. himself, right? In the Quran, whenever Allah says face, He's actually talking about your actual whole self. While he's a doer of good, right? So while he's I think the word uses muhsin here, the one who does ihsan, then he has grasped the most trustworthy handhold. So if you think about pure attachment, that's kind of what this is talking about. Allah saying that as long as you don't let go of me, I'm not going to let go of you, right? So you're so afraid, right? Because maybe your experiences have been abandoned, right? Maybe not physically, but even emotionally you were abandoned. Then you start to think maybe Allah is also not with me. Allah, no, as long as you're with me, I am with you. I'm not going to let go of you, right? So it's again that rope you're holding on, and Allah saying you've grasped the most trustworthy handhold. Like trustworthy is like Allah's like, trust me, I'm not going to let you go, right? And then number 3, Allah says whoever rejects false gods and believes in God, meaning Allah, has grasped the firmest handhold, one that will never break. That's in Surah Baqarah. So again, rejecting God, rejecting Taghut, and rejecting any idols, rejecting any other thing in your heart that would compete with your love for Allah, with your hope in Allah, with your fear of Allah, right? You reject all of those things, you take them out of your heart, there's no shirk, and now you've purified your heart. Allah saying that you have grasped the most firmest handhold, inshallah. So this is kind of like Allah's promise, right? Long hadith Qudsi. You don't have to read that whole thing, but I just wanted to, I highlighted certain things because to me, I was like, wow, this is secure attachment in a nutshell. Everything that your parents provided for you as a child, Allah saying, actually, I provided it for you, right? The parents were just the means. All the things that people say, they're just the means to get those things. So Allah says, "O my slaves, I have made oppression forbidden for myself," meaning zulm is forbidden on myself, and I made it forbidden amongst you. So do not oppress one another. Do not do zulm on one another. He says, all of you are misguided except those whom I have guided. So seek guidance from me, and I shall guide you. O my slaves, all of you are hungry except those whom I feed. So ask me for food, and I shall feed you. O my slaves, all of you are naked except those whom I clothe. So ask me for clothes, and I shall clothe you. O my slaves, you commit sins by night and by day, and I forgive all sins. So ask me for forgiveness, and I shall forgive you. O my slaves, you can neither do me any harm, nor can you do me any good. O my slaves, if the first of you and the last of you and all the humans and jinn were as all pious as the most pious heart of any individual amongst you, that would add nothing to my power and dominion. O my slaves, if the first and the last amongst you and all humans and jinn were as wicked As the most wicked heart of any individual amongst you, it would cause no loss to my power and dominion. O my slaves, if the first and last amongst you, and all humans and jinn were to stand together in one place and ask of me, and I were to give everyone what he requested, that would not decrease what I possess, except what is decreased of the sea when a needle is dipped into it. O my slaves, it is only your deeds that you will be held accountable for, then I shall recompense you for it. So if anyone finds good, let him praise Allah, and anyone finds other than that, let him blame no one but himself. Wow, okay, that hadith, I love it. Okay, so Sheikh Ukash Kamini, he's like a hadith scholar, he's a scholar in general, but when he explains this hadith, the first thing he says is that, what is the biggest dhulm? Sheikh Ukash. You watched that one? It makes you cry, right? It's very deep. That first line, he said, "O my slaves, I had made oppression forbidden for myself, and I made it forbid upon you." So what is the greatest dhulm? The greatest dhulm. It could be, depending on who you listen to. Because, different scholars have different ways of explaining it, but I'm going off of what he said. What is the greatest dhulm? Yes, the oppression on yourself. The dhulm that you do upon yourself is the greatest dhulm. And the reason why I said it could be a trick is because in the Quran it's shirk, right? The greatest dhulm is shirk, but it's kind of the same thing, because when you do shirk, that is the greatest dhulm upon yourself, right? But I think the way we understand shirk is kind of narrow. Shirk is not just to worship somebody else. Shirk is to make them your everything. To make them your everything. Because what is ilah? What's the meaning of ilah? When we say la ilaha illallah. So ilah can mean God, but actually what is ilah? Yeah, the one you worship, but worship in a sense that you you fear the most. You love him the most. No, that's illah. So ilah with the ha at the end. Ilah is like, we always say deity, but it's not just that. Ilah is like the one that you basically you've turned it into a god. So there is that sense of worship, but you know how linguistically the way we understand worship is like, when somebody says, "Oh, that man worships his wife," what does that mean?
Love her.
Yeah, but it's not a good thing when they say that. It's not a good thing. What do they mean actually? Yeah, he's scared of her. He can't do anything without her. He's gonna die without her presence. Like, it's an unhealthy way of being, actually. Like, it's an attachment. It's an attachment. You make something your ilah, your whole life is revolving around that, right? So when we say la ilaha illallah, it's like, ya Allah, I take everything out of my heart, like out of that place in my heart, other than you, right? Like, I don't fear anyone the way I fear you. I don't love anyone the way I love you. You can still love people, right? But your actual love, like Allah says, the believers, they're ashaddu hubban lillah, right? Like, they're very, very severe and like intense in their love for Allah. So the way you love, you don't love anybody else the way you love Allah. You don't put your hope in anybody the way you put your hope in Allah. So that's kind of like, and also the way you seek, right? This attachment, this idea of attachment, is like you feel they're gonna die without this person. You know, like people are in love and they feel like they're gonna die without somebody. Like, I absolutely need this person in my life. They've made that person their ilah. They're actually worshiping them. It's infatuation. It's not real love, because you feel like you need this person. In reality, you don't need anybody except Allah, right? Yes? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Natural fear is okay. Okay, so that's a good point. Natural fear is good, but the way that so in another hadith Qudsi, Allah says that on the day of judgment, Allah will question a person, and He will say, "Why didn't you tell the people like what was wrong and what was right?"
So
right,
like too much of something becomes haram type of thing?
Well, we're talking about fear, because Sister Naima asked about fear.
Oh, fear, sorry.
Yeah, so she said sometimes people have natural fear. I'm like, sure, yeah, we're born with fear. We're created with fear so that we don't hurt ourselves, right? But like what I'm talking about is on the day of judgment, like Allah will ask a person, why didn't you say to these people, like so and so, whatever? And he'll say that I was afraid of the people. Like I couldn't speak the truth. I didn't have the courage to speak the truth, like to talk about you, for example, or to like to speak out against evil. He said, I was scared of the people. Allah said, rather, you should have been scared of me. So it's talking about like when your fear goes beyond that level, you should only be afraid of Allah, right? So like if you're in a difficult situation, are you afraid of people? Or are you afraid of Allah? Or are you afraid of like, being canceled, for example, right? Or are you afraid of Allah? That's like, it's talking about the extreme levels that we go to, right? Yeah. So, and then again, this hadith also, it goes to talking about the source of things, right? Because if you have an attachment problem, you don't really realize that the source of everything is Allah. So some people, they're constantly spending their life running after what they think is love. So they're running after different people because they want to fill that part inside of them that feels empty. Right? There's certain people who are running after money all the time because they're trying to fill that part of them that's empty. Like all the billionaires, for example, they have so much, but they keep buying more, but it never fills them on the inside, right? Because they didn't realize that the money is not the source of happiness. The things are not the source. They're not going to actually give you anything, right? So this hadith, it's like Allah is specifically telling you that you're misguided except if I gave you guidance. I'm the source of guidance. That's what he's saying. Like you're hungry except if I gave you food. I'm the source of food, right? I'm the source of everything, the clothes, and even forgiveness itself, right? Like in other religions, they go to the priest and they go to the whatever to ask for forgiveness. Allah's saying, no, here you come directly to me and I'm going to remove that burden from you. The burden of sin that you've been carrying. All the effects of the sins that you've brought into your life. Ask me and I'm going to relieve you of that burden. So Allah is again establishing himself, reminding us that he's the source.
It's sort of like for the Israel, that provided them with like fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
So they ask for more and then they feel like
Yeah.
arrogant type of thing.
Yeah, and they wanted their little cucumbers and lentils, but Allah's like, I'm giving you something so much better, but they didn't want it, right? So first Allah is talking about like the basic stuff, right? Food, clothing, whatever. But then he goes, he's talking about his power. He's saying on top of your necessities, right? On top of all the I gave you, if you were to ask me of all the stuff that you ever wanted, even the useless stuff, and I gave it to you, I still would not run out. But even if you asked me for every single thing that I ever gave, like everything you could have ever wanted, the human and the it, he's like, I wouldn't run out. I'm still the source. He's saying, I'm not running out. So basically, why are you running after people? Why are you running after things that have limits, right? Whereas I'm limitless. So he's saying, ask from me, right? That's the meaning behind this hadith. It's like, it's just very, very deep. I can never get over. Were you going to say something, Shayma?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay, so this Yasmin Mujahid, she's my favorite person in the entire world, and I consider her one of my greatest teachers because I have literally memorized her stuff at this point. So in her book, Reclaim Your Heart, she says she has a chapter called Looking for God, and she says that when we run after people, whether it's a romantic partner or a friend, we are looking for them to say one of these things to us in one way or another. Or we try to find it in our parents, which they should have given when we were little, but they didn't give it, right? Some of them didn't give it. So our whole lives, we run after somebody who's going to say one of these things to us, right? I'm taking care of you. It's going to be okay. I love you always. That's never going to change. You can hold on to me. I will never let you down. I'll never leave you, right? I appreciate you. I see you for who you are, whatever. I'll never betray you. Everything. We think that this is loyalty, this is love. We want somebody to say these things to us. Like we long for that type of relationship. And we keep looking for it everywhere. Who's going to love me like this?
And it might not be true. Allah,
Yeah. Yeah. Even if it's from the heart, what can happen? Let's say somebody says it from their heart. Let's say they're very sincere. Then what? Huh? They can die, right? Let's say you found the love of your life. Now they're like, yeah, I'm gonna take care of you, whatever, everything's perfect. But can that last? Right? They can die. They can die because they're human. So more realistically, like they can just lose their feelings, right? Their feelings might lessen. Or maybe they want to be there for you, but they can't. Yeah, you can separate. Or they just don't have the capacity. Right? Human beings have a limited capacity. That's the point, right? Like anybody can give you love, but it's limited. Like anybody can give you what you want, but it's limited. Like even money can buy you happiness a little bit for a little while, and then what? It's limited, right? But Allah, when Allah says, like the promises Allah makes, He doesn't break them, right? And the things Allah gives us, they don't run out. So we look for this endless, perfect, thing. But nobody is actually going to give us that except Allah, right? And one of the reasons why, Yasmin always talks about this, one of the reasons why we chase perfection so much is because we are wired to chase perfection. Allah wired us like that, but it's because Allah is perfect. And so Allah has already put that inside of us, that we are going to remain empty until we seek Him only. That's by design. That's why we never get filled. And we think, like sometimes there's a problem with us, like, oh, everybody else is happy, it's just me who's unhappy. I'm just the one who needs this one thing in my life, and then everything will be perfect, right? Like if I just have this one person, if I just have this one thing in my life, it will be perfect. But it's not. And Allah's going to bring that empty feeling again, just so you could turn to Him, right? That's the whole point. The empty feeling is there just so you could run after Allah. So the takeaway is, Allah is my consistent caretaker, right? Rabb. The word Rabb is like, it has the meaning of creation, it has the meaning of sustaining, it has the meanings of providing, right? All the things that your parents did for you, which is why it's called tarbiyah, right? Parents do tarbiyah because tarbiyah and Rabb, it's related. Their role is supposed to be like that of Allah Himself, because as a child, who's going to take care of you, right? So you pick up these characteristics by seeing the humanly love. You see the mercy of Allah, the love of Allah through your parents, right? But then, again, we talked about what if you have trauma, right? What if your parents weren't exactly what you wanted them to be? Then what? So you can actually heal. Here's the thing. Attachment is a psychological phenomenon, right? Secure attachment, insecure attachment. You can heal your trauma through spirituality. And some people will cancel me for saying this, but you can, because the reason, like there are certain names of Allah. I actually reflected on this. I did like a whole exercise for my own personal need. There's certain names of Allah that when you reflect on them and you connect with them and you do dhikr with them with the intention of healing, you will experience that secure attachment. Those feelings of anxiety over wanting to run after somebody, wanting your best friend to just listen to you and stop fighting, whatever it is, it's gonna go away. You can actually heal like your past pain when you connect with Allah. Right? Because you know that Allah is consistent. Allah's not going anywhere. He's consistent. And you can rely on Him. Right? He has the power to help you, and He's willing to help you. Right? And those things are very important, because sometimes people might be willing to help us, but they don't have the power to. Right? Or they want to heal us, they want to help us, they don't have the power to, because they're not Allah. They can't change our heart. They can't change our brain chemistry. Right? And there's other people who have the means, but they have no willingness to help us. They don't want to help us. There are people who have the money that they could make our problems disappear. They don't want to, right? But Allah is the only one who has the willingness to help us, to heal us, to cure us, to take care of us, and He has the means, He has the power to do so, right? And then Allah is my reliable and so Allah calls Himself Wali in the Quran, right? Allahu waliyul ladhina amanu yukhrijuhum min adh-dhulumati ila an-nur. Like Allah is the protecting friend of the believers. So again, He's not just like cool and chill like a friend, but He has the authority to protect you. Right, a protecting friend. And friends don't always protect you, but it's really interesting because wali is a very important term in that regard. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's the last thing. Any questions, comments? This one? This one? Okay. All right. No. Yeah. I thought about it, I'm like, have I ever met a kid named Al-Jabbar or even just Jabbar? I don't think that's.
Okay, like Abdul Jabbar. You don't.
Abdul Jabbar. But Abdul, you can use any name of Allah, but Jabbar is kind of a powerful one, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think there are people named Abdul Jabbar. Yeah, I don't know. You might have to ask Imam Farhan about that.
Was there a last life?
Yeah. Why, you want to take a picture of
No, I just wanted to like scan it.
But yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's not even 7:30 yet. We got like 4 minutes. But I'll show you. This is the slide that she was talking about. I was saying like it's not recommended to like try to embody some characteristics of Allah. Like we can't be Al-Ahad, for example. You know, it doesn't make sense because Allah's one. Al-Jabbar is like the one who, Jabbar means self. Allah forces people to do things, right? It's a very powerful term in the Quran. So we shouldn't try to be Jabbar because that means we're just forcing people to bend to our will. But there's other names that we should be trying to embody, like Kareem and Wadud and Sabur, which Allah is ultimately, you know, the one who embodies them, but we should be trying to have those within ourselves as well. So, yep. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.